Hey, and welcome back to Everything Music. I am Chris Allman, and before we get started, I would love for you to do me a favor. It would help me out a lot if you would hit the like button, okay? Like this video. If we could get this video up to, 250, 300, even 500 likes, that would be awesome because the algorithm will grab it. It'll send it out to other people who are just like you and me, music lovers, and love everything music. So, like it, hit the bell. That way you'll get notifications whenever I put out new content. And take a moment to subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Subscribe to the channel, and I would love to have you a part of the community, a part of this family of music lovers, everything music. Okay, also, leave me a comment. Those of you who are here in this community, you're here because you love music and you are involved, possibly, somewhat, in music. If you're a singer, I want you to put an S in the comments. If you're a producer, put a P in the comments. If you're just a musician, M in the comments. Whatever it is, and maybe if I've missed something, just write what it is that you do and what you love and what you want to learn about and what you want to talk about in the comments, because in this community, you're not only going to learn from me or whatever I can offer, but I can learn from you and the other people can learn from you in the comments as well. So drop your comments down there. It's going to help a lot. Let's grow a great big community with Everything Music. Well, today I'm going to cover a little bit about songwriting. There's no way in one video that we could cover everything about songwriting, but I think we can cover a few things to get you on the right path. Actually, Dave from Santa Barbara, he's the one who sent something in the comments about wanting to hear about songwriting and how to better himself in that. He's listened to some other stuff, but he would like some other tips. So hopefully I can share some things with you that will help you in songwriting. First, about myself. I am a songwriter. I've been writing for, I suppose I've been writing for about 32, 33 years now, and have been inspired by so many different songwriters. But I remember way back in the day, whenever I was, 21, 22 years old, and I wanted to write music so bad, but I really didn't have a frame of reference on how to get started or what were the things that I should think about when it comes to writing a song that is just structured well and works, okay? Because there are some things that work and there's some things that don't. Now, I know many times you'll hear me mention on this channel that when it comes to music, I don't feel like there are any rules. You know, music transcends rules. Now I know there's theory and there are things that are in place, but when it comes to music and creating music, I really don't feel like there are any rules. But with that said, there are some things that work and some things that don't work. Well, first let's talk about this, inspiration. Now, like I said, I've been writing for 30 plus years, and I find that my best songs, and really the songs that I hear other people write that touch me, that pull me in to the song, are songs that were written out of real inspiration. Most of the time, the songs that I write that I feel reach people the best are things that I write out of my experiences. Sadness. It's okay to write about sadness. The things that bring me joy. Anything that has touched me in a certain way, that's something that I can write about. That's something that I can pull from. So never be afraid to write about your experiences. As painful as they may be, always remember that there are other people who are going through those same struggles. And I've always found in life that no matter how hard my struggle may be, there's always somebody else who's going through something that might be worse. So if I can write a song or I can craft a lyric that would touch somebody, would help somebody through maybe the same thing that I've gone through, well, that's a song that is worth writing. So inspiration. Inspiration may come from something somebody else said that hits you right between the eyes. You know, I've heard people say things that I was like, wow, that's a very thoughtful statement. And here's something you should do too. Always keep either a notebook, you know, I know that's old style, that's the vintage way of doing things, is actually keeping a pen and piece of paper. But on my iPhone, when I hear somebody say something that inspires me or makes me think that, you know, maybe that could make a good song, I'm going to write that down. So I can always go back and refer to things that I've heard, things that inspired me, things that I thought of. You know, sometimes I'll be driving down the road and I'll think of something, but I can't very well write something down. So I might pick up my phone, hit the microphone on my notes, and just speak into the phone that particular note. So I'll have it for later, and I can refer to it when I'm ready to write. So I wanted to write a song about heaven. And my inspiration was really, what are some things that I feel may happen in heaven that we don't always think about? And this leads to another entire step when it comes to writing music. But my inspiration for this particular song, which was entitled, I'll Never Break the Heart of God Again, writing a song about heaven with ideas that maybe have not been written about. When you hear about heaven and songwriting, you're going to hear about golden streets, which is wonderful, can't wait. But you're going to hear about golden streets, jasper walls, mansions bright, kneeling before God and praising Him and worshiping Him, singing songs that angels can't sing. You know, all of these things that we've heard that are all wonderful things, but have been written about so many times. So my inspiration for a particular song that I wrote, I'll Never Break the Heart of God Again, was what can I write about heaven that will be a new twist, will be something fresh for people to hear, because I always want to write something fresh. So I wrote this song that just says, so many songs have been written about heaven. So first I'm thinking about, let's just go ahead and be honest. There have been a ton of songs written about heaven. So I wrote the verse, so many songs have been written about heaven and what waits for us on the other side. Golden streets and jasper walls are a given. So there's your rhyme, heaven given. And our loved ones who are there will never die. You know, so I went ahead and the very first part of that verse, I gave away what the inspiration to that song was. That so many songs have been written about heaven, but these are the things that they all talked about, and I wanted to talk about something different. So you can look that song up, I'll Never Break the Heart of God Again, and that's a song that I wrote. So that's just an example. There's so many other examples. I've written out of my pain. So there's inspiration. You got to have good inspiration and something that truly inspires you and that you feel in your soul, so that you can write something that someone else will feel in their soul when they hear it sung or performed. Along with inspiration, I touched a bit on this a moment ago, is the element of surprise. And you know, a lot of people, well, they call it the hook. It doesn't really have to be the hook in the song, but when I write a song, I don't want the listener to know what's coming. There are so many songs that are written and you just know what's coming next, because you're putting together rhymes in your mind and you're saying, well, this is probably what's going to rhyme with that. And a lot of times people who write music, they'll take the easy way out and they'll think about the first rhyme that comes along, and that's what they'll write. You know, I want to come up with a word that maybe someone would not think is coming, something that's going to blow their mind, something that's going to surprise them and say, whoa, I didn't see that coming, to keep their attention. You know, we live in a day where you have to keep people's attention. So I heard it said that if you don't catch somebody's attention within the first, my goodness, I think 3 to 5 seconds when the song starts, you've lost them. So you gotta say something that immediately is going to pull them in, but I want to give them an element of surprise. So usually the first thing I think about is not what I go with. The first thing I think about is honestly going to be that thing that other people would think about as well. So when I'm writing a song and I'm following the storyline, and I'm thinking, how am I wanting to tell this story? What comes next? If I'm thinking, okay, this is the first thing I thought about, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write that down, but I'm going to start thinking of other options, thinking of different ways to say it, whatever it is I'm trying to say. So you don't want to write anything that somebody anticipates or would just figure is going to be said. You're going to want to give them the element of surprise. Like I talked about a moment ago, writing about heaven, golden streets, jasper walls. Those things are definitely going to be there, but they're things that have been written about a million times. So the element of surprise, that's something that I would say. There's inspiration, but then there's also take them on a journey, something that they weren't anticipating, okay? So there's that element of surprise. Rhymes don't always have to be exact. Okay, they can be near rhymes. So if you're thinking about, I need to write a line, something that rhymes with that. Well, it don't have to be bat or sat or cat. It can be something that is a near rhyme, something that's a two-syllable word, and the second half of that syllable rhymes with hat, if you know what I'm talking about there. And there are all kinds of tools out there. For instance, I'll be honest with you, I use a site called rhymezone.com. rhymezone.com. And I go there and I'll just type in the word that I'm wanting to rhyme with. And it will give me one-syllable words, two-syllable words, three-syllable words, and I have a vast amount of things I can choose from. And there's nothing wrong with that, and sometimes you'll see a word there that you didn't even think about, but works in the song and will take you down a different road, and something that you weren't even anticipating. So that's a great tool to use. Now, let me stop here and say this. When it comes to AI, I do not nor will I use AI to assist me in writing a song. To me, that's not songwriting. That is a search engine or an AI feature that just quickly searches the entire internet about ideas and things, and they grab other people's stuff. So basically, AI is just stealing other ideas from other people and putting them down in something that you're going to put your name on. So I'm absolutely against using AI for songwriting. I know some people are doing that. It's not legitimate. They can't call themselves the songwriter when it comes to that. I would never use AI. But using something like rhymezone.com or using a thesaurus. Okay, a lot of times I'll go and I'll pull up a thesaurus online and I'll put in a word and I'll look for the alternate words to that word to see if I can use that instead, if it works. And, there's also, does it sing well? Just because something may rhyme, just because something may look good on paper when you're reading it, that doesn't necessarily mean that it will sing well. So when I'm writing my music, I don't just think about it. And by the way, a lot of people will ask me, when you write songs, do you write just the lyric and then write the music? Do you write the music, then write the lyric? The answer is I do write both, but I write them pretty much at the same time, simultaneously. Because I really feel like, and here's another tidbit on songwriting, the music needs to match the lyric. If it's something that's a sad subject, it doesn't need to have happy music. If it's something that is a happy subject, it doesn't need to be written in a minor key. So the music needs to match the lyric. Everything needs to work in harmony, if you will, and make sense. So with that said, I will sing my song as I'm writing it. And if it just doesn't flow while I'm singing it, I know that that's not the right word, or that's not the right phrase. And I'm going to need to come up with something more that feels natural when I'm singing. And you know what? You may not be a singer, but you're trying to write music, so that might be a little hard for you, and you may need to include someone in regards to writing your music. There's nothing wrong with co-writing. I've co-written a few things here and there. Most of the things that I've written on my own, but some people, it really works better for them to have somebody they can bounce things off of and say, how does this feel? What's your opinion? Or if you have a singer involved, they can sing that and say, it just don't feel right. So the song needs to sing well. Just because you write down something that rhymes doesn't mean that it's musical or that it will sing well. Okay? So think about that when you're writing as well. Let's talk about structure for a minute. As I said earlier, there are no rules when it comes. So hymns, let's talk about hymns. A proper hymn is verse, 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 verse. It's not a verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus. Something like Amazing Grace is a hymn. You have Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Verse 1, and then you go to the last verse. When we've been there 10,000 years. So it's not a verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus. Most of the things that I write, it's in a verse, chorus, structure. But often, especially in a ballad, we'll add a bridge. Now, what is a bridge? Okay, a bridge to me is a section of the song that is pretty much a summary of the entire idea of the song. Something that if you just read the bridge, you would know what the whole song is about. That's what the bridge is to me. It just brings everybody back to the central focus of what the song is all about. Then out of the bridge, maybe a nice key change into that last chorus and take it home, and then tag it and end it out. Okay, so that's your basic structure. Can I say this? Whenever I'm writing, a lot of times I'll start with a chorus because that's where your hook's going to be. And then I'll go back and I'll put some verses to it. But sometimes, you get hung up. You're writing and you hit a wall. Here's something that helps me whenever that happens, okay? When I hit a wall and I don't know where to go, I always 100% will, and this is very simple, maybe so simple that you're like, really, that works? Yes, it works. Simply go back to and ask yourself the question, what am I writing about? What am I wanting to say? Because a song, in essence, is wanting to say something. And in that song, you say it over and over and over again, but you say it in many, 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 many ways, okay? So I'll always, if I hit a wall, let's go back to that basic spot of what are we trying to accomplish here? And 9 times out of 10, if not 100% of the time, that will get me back on track. Now, if I'm to a point where I still am hitting a brick wall, I'll close my phone, I'll just stop, and I'll come back to it later, because I've written it down. What I have, I've written down, I've made notes, and I know what I have so far. It will be there later, and you don't have to rush it. There's so many songwriters that I know that are writing all of the time. I mean, every week they're writing songs. Me, I don't write all the time. I write when I'm inspired. I write in seasons, if you will. And when I write in those seasons, I may write 8 songs. I may write 9 songs. But then there'll be months, literally months that go by that I just don't write, and I don't labor over it. And I feel like that's helped me. Now, this is just me, and everybody's different. I feel like that's helped me stay fresh. I feel like that has helped me not be so one note when it comes to writing my songs, because it gives me a time to breathe and reset and get away from the other mindset that I had when I wrote those songs. And now I'm on to something different. That just really helps me. So think about that. Now, if you're one of those that, man, I just want to write, that there's nothing wrong with that, and that's what you need to do. But I feel like that if that's the trail you're going to walk down, you may experience those dry spells a little more often, because you can only turn out and produce so much until you're spent. So, if you just think about that, that's just me. But I hope that I've said some things today in this video that help you. There'll be some other songwriting videos down the road that I'll do, and that when I get other ideas. But hey, inspiration, you got to start with that. You got your song structures, you have the ways that you say things, the elements of surprise, the tools that you can use, the rhymezone.com, and then the thesaurus that you can use as well. And don't ever sell short listening to other songs written by writers that you're inspired by. I have certain writers that I mean, my respect level for them is way off the chart. I've learned so much from listening to other people and how they craft their songs. And sometimes I'll try to keep them in my mind. How would so-and-so say this? Or if I'm trying to write a song that goes this direction, this seems like something that this songwriter would write. How do I think they might say that? So don't be afraid to listen to other people's stuff. You don't want to plagiarize it, but to kind of get an idea of how they say things and what they might say. Just imagine, what would they say in this situation? So, hey, thanks so much for listening to this, Everything Music. I'm so glad that you have watched. I hope you've watched all the way to the end. And if you have, you're here right now. So like I said, hey, if you appreciate this video, like it, share it, hit the bell, subscribe, and let's grow this community, and let's just keep on talking about everything music. Till the next time, we'll see you.